everyone. Today I'm going to continue to read to you in the art book. So here we go. The Immortals. Known as the Frieze of Archers, this image made of glazed bricks was created more than 2,500 years ago on the walls of the Susa Palace in Persepolis, Persia, now Iran. It depicts an elite force of warriors known as the Immortals, who are carrying spears, bows, and quivers. Minoan, Greek, and Roman art. The ancient Egyptians passed on their artistic skills to other peoples who lived around the Mediterranean Sea. The Minoans, who lived in the island of Crete and in some other parts of Greece, from about 3000 BCE to 1380 BCE, created art that showed clear Egyptian influences, including ways of drawing people and use of bright colors. These painting styles spread across Greece and eventually to Rome. Ladies in Blue at Knossos, about 1500 BCE. This Minoan painting portrays three ladies in flat profile, showing a clear Egyptian influence. Minoan wall paintings. The Minoans painted on walls while the plaster was still wet. As the paint and plaster dried, they fused together. This technique was later called fresco, which means fresh in Italian. Minoan artists did not use grits, so their pictures are not as rigid as Egyptian art. Most of their work was displayed in palaces to be looked at by people rather than gods. Roman characters. The Romans added their own ideas to older artistic traditions. They liked the perfection of Greek art, but they also liked to portray things more realistically, such as people aging. Artists worked throughout the Roman Empire, making art to honor their gods, celebrate achievements, and proclaim their power. Villa of the Mystery, 1st century CE. Actually, it's not BCE, but I mistake it for B. CE is after Christ was born. This fresco in a Roman villa near Pompeii in Italy depicts rituals carried out during religious festivals. A ritual that cuts off people's head? No, that's a god, I think. Lost works. Very few Greek paintings have survived the damp climate of Greece. Rotted paintings that had been made on wooden panels, and most ancient buildings have long gone. However, we have learned much about ancient Greek painting from the painted pottery they produced. Greek artists were also employed by the Romans. Some Roman art, painted by Greek artists, provides clues to what the style of Greek paintings may have been like. Panathenaic amphora, about 500 BCE. A large type of Greek vase was awarded as a prize in sporting contests. This one is decorated with an image of a chariot racer in a style known as black figure. Lifelike scenes. By the 100 CE, the Romans ruled over a huge empire, across which Roman, Egyptian, and Greek artists produced all sorts of art, including frescoes, panel paintings, and mosaics. Over time, new ideas evolved and spread, and much of the art in Roman Empire became increasingly lifelike in style. Fresco, 1st century CE. Aeneas, a legendary Trojan warrior, is shown lifelike and vulnerable as his leg wounds are treated. Romans was over the surface of painted frescoes to preserve them and make them shine. Rubbed wax. Minoan myth. Knossos in Crete was one of Europe's first cities. It was built by the Minoans, who constructed an elaborate palace and painted frescoes on its walls. This fresco depicts a griffin, a mythical creature with the body of a lion and a head of an eagle. So, the Minoans had abandoned the palace by 1000 BCE, and I wanted to show you this picture painted of a griffin, and its body features looks pretty much like a Gryffindor. If that's the name of a sorcerer, if you read Harry Potter, you would know that the griffin, or the griffin, the animal that fly, that is really large, in the Prisoner of Azkaban, this is related because this is also the griffin, and that is similar to the griffin inside the Harry Potter collection. So I hope you will recognize it if any of you have been reading Harry Potter. Greek painting and mosaics. Like the Minoans, the ancient Greeks valued painting highly. Early Greek art was flat-looking, mainly featuring symbols and patterns. Later artists sought to create art that was more lifelike and in beautifully balanced proportions. Ancient Greek art is divided by art historians into 4 stylistic periods: the geometric, archaic, classical, and Hellenistic. Crater, a vessel used for diluting wine with water. Date 8th century BCE. Medium, terracotta pot. The earliest stylistic period was the geometric period, which lasted from about 1100 to 800 BCE. It began in Athens and spread throughout the cities of the Aegean Sea. The art of this time featured patterns using straight lines and simple shapes. However, by the end of the geometric period, the designs had become more intricate, and figures of people and animals, such as the horses on this crater, were more common. Battling warriors. Terracotta neck amphora. Date about 500 to 480 BCE. Medium, terracotta pot. The Archaic period, 800 to 480 BCE. Artists followed set rules. They painted flat-looking pictures on their pottery using a mixture of clay, water, and wood, ash, and left backgrounds bare. When the clay was fired, the pictures and patterns turned black, but the background stayed red. This was called black figure style pottery. Dionysus and his Thyasos. The Thyasos were followers of the Greek god Dionysus, the god of wine, I suppose. It looks like so. There's lots of grapevine around here. If you see the picture of this vase and his followers, you can see the squiggly bit. I think it's wine, grapevines, because grape is used to make wine. And I heard somewhere that says Dionysus is the god of wine. Well, I'm not really sure about that, but I think it's true. The Diver, an ancient Greek tomb painting, date about 470 BCE, medium fresco. Only a few ancient Greek wall paintings survive. This one, of a man diving into a pool, is in a building known as the Tomb of the Brown Paint, but it is lifelike and easily understood. It was made around the start of the Classical period, 480 to 323 BCE, when Greek art became more natural looking. Sappho, a mosaic of a famed female Greek poet. Date 3rd to 4th century CE. Medium, stone, and glass. At first, Greek mosaics were only made to cover floors, but later they were made on walls as well. Following drawn plans, the artists cut stones into tiny squares and then stuck them into a mixture of lime and sand. This example was made in the earlier style of the Hellenistic period in Greek art, about 323 to 100 BCE, during which artists further developed greater mosaic making skills. Black figure amphora. This black figure vessel for holding wine depicts two warriors in battle, possibly a scene from the epic Greek story, the Iliad. Roman frescoes and mosaics. Although only a small number of Roman panel paintings have been found, many mosaics survive. Several Roman frescoes were preserved under ash when the volcano Vesuvius erupted in 79 CE, covering the nearby city of Pompeii, Italy. They show that Roman artists enjoyed creating realistic-looking scenes of the world around them. Fayum mummy portrait. A coffin decorated with precious stones. Date 1st to 3rd century BCE. Medium, wax and pigment on wood. By the 1st century CE, the Roman Empire extended to Egypt. In Fayum, near modern-day Cairo, realistic-looking portraits of the dead were painted on wooden boards that were attached to their mummy cases, coffins. Many of these remarkably realistic paintings have survived, and they suggest that other Roman paintings from that time may have been just as lifelike. Villa Boscorio, a Roman villa that was preserved by ash. A whole villa? Well, that's worth it. A lot of money. Date, if anybody wants to buy it. About 50 to 40 BCE, medium fresco. More wall paintings survive than any other kind of painting from ancient Rome. However, frescoes such as this one, found under the volcanic ash of Vesuvius in 1900, were not considered the highest form of painting by the Romans. After sculpture, the most prestigious form of art was panel painting, but most of the wooden panels have long since rotted away. A sense of depth is created in this scene by the use of color, but it does not use the techniques of true linear perspective, which were invented much later. Plato and his pupils, a finely detailed Roman mosaic at Pompeii, date 1st century BCE. Medium mosaic. Roman mosaics were made with tiny black, white, and colored squares, tesserae, of marble, glass, pottery, stone, or shells. These were pressed into wet cement, and any gaps between them filled with more cement. Many wealthy Romans had mosaics in their homes. They also featured in public buildings across the Roman Empire. Many tell stories, such as this scene from the life of the Greek philosopher Plato, shown teaching at his famous academy. They also show us what everyday items, such as clothes and tools, looked like. Bedroom fresco at Boscorio. Without techniques of perspective, a sense of depth can be created by using cold blues for the background and warm reds for the foreground. The Garden of Livia. Fresco is an underground vault of a villa near Rome. Date 1st to 3rd century CE. Medium fresco. The Villa of Livia belonged to Livia Drusilla, the wife of the Roman Emperor Augustus. The walls of the underground rooms are decorated with beautiful garden scene. The plants are painted with a high degree of realism and detail. However, they have come into flower and fruit at the same time, which cannot happen in real life. This creates a dream-like feeling to the work, and it shows that Roman artists were not always primarily concerned about portraying real life, but rather an idealized version of it. Pompeii landscape, a decoration in a Roman home, date 1st century CE, medium fresco. Romans were the first Western artists to develop landscape painting using their own form of perspective and shading to make things look realistic. Some landscapes were gardens with flowers, birds, and trees, while others depicted farms with animals. Sometimes they featured buildings that looked three-dimensional with painted angles and shading. Many landscapes were painted to seem as if they were views seen through windows, rather than painting. I still really like the Faya mummy portrait, even though the others are really cool. The Faya mummy portraits look like it's really valuable because there's gold on it and jewels stuck on it, and it sounds pretty cool. Imagine somebody in there when they're dead. Oh my God, such a very 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 luxurious coffin for them. Well, see you next time, and bye.